Okay, welcome back. This is Harrowings Live. And from the bunker, as usual. I just posted summer 1997, and I'm a little uncomfortable doing it because it outs me as a person in recovery. And I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. I do think that it's something that we do try to keep close to the vest often. The World Health Organization has recently come out with guidelines, and you can look this up on Google. Just Google WHO alcohol guidelines, and it'll tell you that the safe amount of alcohol for human consumption is none at all. I think we're going to come around to understanding that eventually, but for the time being, the alcohol industry is really powerful. And it was powerful in my life. I was aware from a young age that I was attracted to it, and I didn't know why. Eventually, my father took me aside as a young man and said, if you ever develop a problem, you'll come by it honestly. It's on both sides of your family. And I think it's in most families when you get down to it. It takes a huge cost, and there is a solution. There's been a solution for some time, and a lot of it involves abstinence. This hand, I put it on a vessel that contains water, or I could put it on a vessel that contains something also that looks just like it, but isn't. I don't do that these days. I haven't done it for some time, and I don't plan to do it in the future. I was first introduced to the idea that it might be a good idea not to drink by my own brain in 1983 when I met this young lady, and I thought, I like her. I think that my drinking is going to get in the way of us being together. So I stopped abruptly. And that didn't work out. Of course, I was only 20, but I also stopped sleeping. And as a result, I stopped um, being sane. I was given a polite diagnosis. I was not put into a alcoholism, treatment facility or anything like that. But the second time it happened, same thing. I stopped sleeping. I sort of went balmy, and again, I was hospitalized. And this time they thought it was a good idea to drink on those medications they started me on 83. And I haven't needed to be on those in a long time. That's not the normal prognosis, by the way. I've crammed a lot into 2.5 minutes. I do that a lot. And the reason I do it is to try to help others. The reason I'm doing Summer 1997 has a lot to do with the bravery of a friend of mine, dear girl. I don't even know who you are really in real life, but you put out there something about a job you had that you lied to get out of or something. I forget exactly the details, but I lied to get out of a job that I had taken largely because I was drinking. I lied about drinking to the manager. He did not catch up with that, but eventually I just bailed out on him. And I don't think it really cost him much. But at the bottom line, there was it cost me a lot in my feelings about myself. I knew I was a liar. I knew I was not a person of integrity, that I was not being authentic. And I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. I was just out of graduate school, degree in German. I was freelance German to English translator, and I was dating this young woman who I talk about in summer 1997. I would sit on her porch and look up at the comet Hale Bopp hanging up there in the sky, and I would think of how is this all going to work out? Because I'm a bum and she loves me, but I'm not worthy of her. And eventually she figured that out and split with me, and I ended up sobering up and slogging my way out of that situation, eventually moving to Denmark. That also ended up putting me on a trajectory that I've been on till last August. And now I'm here, writing about these things, talking to myself about myself, and talking to myself with a big S that is in every one of us. Now, I was listening to something recently or reading it that said, don't try to always tell a relatable story about yourself. So I've just broken that rule. I got a relatable story from Dear Girl, and then I told a relatable story, I hope, about myself here on Substack. I'm really excited about what Substack can do for us. So I might deviate into that topic in a bit. But for now, let's just say that summer 1997 was a big turning point in my life. I survived it. Um, I got a lot of help. I got a lot of help from a lot of people who are near and dear to my heart. I'm going back to Pittsburgh actually at the end of July. I'm going to spend a couple days. I'm going to stay in the Renaissance Hotel, and that's downtown. It looks out over the Allegheny River as it comes down to flow into the point where the Ohio River forms and it goes on down there. You know, on November 14th, 1997, I had a plan. I had a plan to kill myself. I was going to wade into the river at Point State Park. And it was November, so I'd probably not last too long in the cold waters of the Ohio River. But I was going to do something else first. And I did that thing. And as a result, I'm talking to you now. Sometimes everything turns on that fine a dime, I like to say. I don't even know if that's actually a thing. It's like my own way of phrasing it. But we walk a razor's edge. Robert Fripp talks about this in some of his posts. If you go out there, and I will go out there eventually and find this clip, he talks about John Wetton, the bassist for King Crimson, one of my favorite artists. And he says, you know, and John very, what was the word? It wasn't nobly, but it was something like that. Owned up to his substance abuse problems and joined the fellowship. He had some of the best conversations with John he had ever had, things that were really deep and meaningful. And he said, you know, people in the fellowship, people who live one day at a time, that's the way he phrased it, I think, live on the razor's edge. And any deviation can be fatal. And we know that. We walk on the razor's edge. We live a day at a time. And we breathe. Taking a breath in, I can calm my body. Breathing out, I can smile and send a smile out to the four corners of the universe. And here I'm quoting my personal guru, Wavy Gravy. Nobody's fool, he calls himself. After he ran the Nobody's for President campaigns from, I think, starting in 1972 on. Nobody should have that much power. Nobody makes better apple pie than mom. Nobody is in Washington working for you. Well, we're all on a journey from I to otherwise, I like to say. And there I'm quoting one of my favorite poets who died in a swimming pool in 1963, Theodore Redka. The journey from I to otherwise. And it's a temp job. Just like my job at the hardware store had been a temp job. And that's what we talk about in the summer of 1997 blurb there. And I took off to Europe after that with my girlfriend, and we toured around quite a bit. I talk about that. And I've been very lucky in my friendships. I still maintain those friendships over time. I actually do run into, or at least get into spaces where I see this girlfriend here in DC. Happened at Psycho Killers the other day. Psycho Killers is a Talking Heads cover band, as you might imagine. And it was at the Hamilton Live. And there she was. I didn't talk to her. And the reason I didn't is because I don't want to inflict myself on anybody who might have feelings about it one way or the other, positive or negative. I did talk to this person once when I saw them over at their place of employment at the time, not now. And, you know, caught up, found out a little bit about what was going on. And then I realized, you know, I don't really need to do that. And a reason that really got through my head was related to the old tune by the Rolling Stones called Stray Cat Blues. I hear the click-clack of your feet on the stairs. Well, I didn't hear the click-clack of her feet on the stairs, but I heard the click-clack of her feet right behind me when I was sitting in the lobby of this particular institution. And she was at work, and I didn't actually encounter her, but I heard the click-clack of her feet behind me, and it hit my hypothalamus. And I felt a surge go through my body because I wrecked my ears and the processing from my auditory cortex down into my body just flooded me with a feeling that's a release of hormones, I'm sure. And I realized I don't like that feeling. I don't want that feeling, not in regard to that particular individual. I'm happily married. I was actually at the time just waiting for my wife in this waiting room. And Yeah, it made me aware that not every thing needs to be acted upon, that not everyone needs to see me or know me. Those who have known me might actually have just been in my life for a brief time for a reason. And I'm grateful for everyone who comes into my life, whether it's temporary, we're all temporary, whether it's for a short time or a long time. And I hope to be hanging here with all of you for a long time. And I hope that this little clip has meant something to someone besides me. But I know that it felt like I needed to do it because I scared the shit out of myself by sharing this little story of summer 1997 and telling the truth as I see it. And I don't know. I could be wrong. This might not be the truth. I might be lying to myself. Denial runs deep. And with that, we're at about 11 minutes, so I'll cut it here. Thanks for joining.